This is Soulpreneur, the space where strategy, spirit, and soulful leadership meet. I am Ezewani Abi, and here we have conversations for purpose-driven founders who want profit but also want balance and peace. Join us. Hi, Ade.
Hi, Zaya. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
So thank you for joining me on Soulpreneur, where we chat about life, business, and balance. And we're just going to have a very casual conversation about business and what you do and how you balance it all. You know, being a mom and a business owner, and of course, a business owner in the service industry as well. So before I say too much, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
All right. Thank you so much, Zaya, for having me. I'm so honored to be on this broadcast. First of all, my name is Adiola, and I'm the owner of A&E Financial Services. At A&E Financial Services, we serve small business owner and helping them to structure their taxes, tax planning, business consulting, to make sure that they're able to minimize their taxation long run while they're able to build wealth. All right. I'm also a mother of three amazing kids, Aviella, Alexander, and Anu Oluwakiton.
Nice. That's awesome. How old are the kids?
Avi is 8 years old. Alexander is 6 years old. Anu Oluwa is 14 months.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you kind of have them spread out. So how long have you had your business?
So I've been in business for over 15 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
15 years. So managing the practice, dealing with clients, that's a pretty long time.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is that long.
Yeah. So how have you been able to manage? I mean, given that you started your business before you even started building, growing your family, how have you been able to manage growing the business and growing your personal life as well? What's been some of the challenges you've experienced trying to keep both, growing and functioning as well as possible?
Well, thank you for that question. I will be honest with you. I started I started my business out when I was single, and before getting married, it was completely different. I was able to pour myself into the business, building the business, and all the great stuff. All right. Then I got married, I think after 3 years into owning my own business, and I feel like it was a bit challenge, because now you're married and having to get used of being with someone that hasn't been part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a challenge in personality wise and all that, and also managing business, husband, and family together. You know what I'm saying? So it was a bit challenging, and but with God wisdom, I was able to manage that, and of course I got pregnant like a year after getting married.
Oh, wow.
So it was really, really, really challenge for me. And balance, I don't even think there's balance, to be really honest.
You don't think there was balance then, or you don't think there's balance, period?
At that moment,
at that time, okay, got you.
I don't think there was balance because I was working, and I remember, I had my daughter in December, and come January is tax season, which was a busy season for me at that moment. And I remember my daughter was just 6 weeks old. I took her to work with me.
Okay, so you had not your business, but you had a day job as well.
No, I wasn't working.
You were okay. So you took her to your business. Okay, what you said?
So I took her to my business.
To your business. Got you.
So that's what I meant. Like I took her to walk.
Yeah.
So my business, So it was really, really challenging having to manage both together. I remember fitting out work, while I was in my business. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
So it was challenged, to really be honest. But as time goes on, for at least about 5 years, 5 years after being married, it was tough. Even with having nanny, with us at the initial phase, because the nanny has to go home every other 2 weeks or so. So
Hmm.
weekend, my daughter, she's with me. I had her, and I had to take her to work because I work on weekend during tax season, and having to juggle that, having clients calling and all that. So it was tough. But as time grows, I won't say there's still balance, to be
Right.
honest, you
Right.
know. But just being able to work with my partners has been amazing. We get to understand each other much, much better and how to work
Together.
together.
Yeah, understood. I can imagine because you're dealing with young ones and also dealing with a business. I mean, maybe not a brand new business at the time, but still trying to deal with a business that requires constant communication with clients and you having to be visible and attentive and things like that. Did you
Correct.
notice any stagnation in your business during this period, or was it something that you were able to kind of keep on par as the business was growing?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I will tell
Just
you
looking
that,
back, right? Like,
yeah,
did you
looking
notice, did
back,
you see the
thinking
slowdown?
back.
Right.
No, at the initial stage, because I was very, very tenacious at the initial stage, I
Okay.
focused all my energy on the business, even versus my family at that moment, because I just want to build it,
Right.
right? But later on, as I examined the growth of the business, I had to make a very tough decisions and cut off certain clients. My business wasn't stagnation. I just decided to cut off certain type of clients that
Okay.
just wasn't serving my interest, and because they were just demanding the timing, the value that I provided versus the pricing. It just wasn't making sense. So
Got you.
at that moment, I had to cut back on those type of client and focus on different type of client. So cut down so much of individual returns and focus on business return. And also, so those were the moment that my business slows down. So it wasn't a slowdown when I was
Well, because of family, but
married. Then, as I started my family, it was actually growing on a
right.
very high speed. And I wasn't even there for
Got
my
you.
kids. So it was just my husband managing the home and also juggling his work. So I had to slow down. Like, okay, I don't want this type of life. Just
Right.
period.
And that's, I mean, sometimes that's what you have to do, right? Make adjustments internally to make it easier for you to deal with the business. But it's interesting that you pointed out that you stopped dealing with a lot of individual clients and focused on business. So in a way, it
Correct.
was also time for you to apply strategy to your business for your own personal
Yes.
well-being, right?
Correct.
Realizing
Yes.
that individuals may need more of your time, but not necessarily bring as much revenue as you need to.
Revenue. Yes.
Um,
Correct.
so
Yes.
now that you work with a lot of business owners, do you find yourself having those conversations with your business clients as well as to how they're actually making money and how they can manage themselves and their clients a little better? Or do you find yourself staying specifically in the tax lane? How do you, because you've implemented something that helped your business, right? So do you find
Absolutely.
yourself
Yes.
sharing that knowledge with other business clients that you work with?
Yes, definitely. Yes. Yeah, thank you. So as a pivot into more of dealing with small business owners and individuals that are building their own business, I
Hmm.
find myself that I'm not just doing tax strategy or tax planning. I end up also getting to understand the nature of their business,
Right.
what their long-term goals are in building their own business as well. And I'm able to help them in building their business and what their plans are, long term in building that business.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult. You can't just start strategy or planning without actually understanding the vision of the business owner, what they intend to do, what their goals are, because that also boils down to structuring their business properly
Hmm.
so that they can take advantage of taxation and what can impact their business in the long run. So yes, I'm also involved in the planning and the planning and the strategy of the business. Once, we get acquaintance and we come on board, and they
Right.
also bring me on board. Not just showing up only on tax season.
Showing up between February and April.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually then bring me on board and hire me like full time and say, okay, come on board. So we get to have that personal and one-on-one because that allows me to be able to keep up with what they're doing, to be able to look through their financials
Hmm.
throughout the year and be able to implement and say, look, this is how far, this is what you're doing so far.
Hmm.
This is how far you could go before the end of the year. And we need to implement certain tax planning and
Yeah.
also, so that allows us to be able to minimize taxation in long run. Yeah.
Right. And plan for
So
that.
yeah, so
That's
it's quite different and less stressful because, they're also more strategic as an individual because they're building business. So the
right.
mindset is quite different.
Right, right. And it gets you involved in essentially building a partnership of some kind as they're growing
Correct.
their
Yes.
businesses as well. So since the concept of soulpreneur is really, how are you managing your well-being while you're growing this business? Now that the business, I mean, the kids have grown up a bit, you have one new young one. So you're
Yeah.
still in that young motherhood space while also dealing with the business that's, a bit more mature. 15 years is a
Yes.
pretty significant time in business. What do you find are some things that you do to help yourself maintain, maybe not balance, but maintain some self-care as part of your life? Because essentially the business is your life, the kids are your life. How are
Yes.
you implementing some personal care and self-care and growing your mind and growing your intellect and your intelligence and being able to support others well? What are some of the things you do to help yourself from that space?
Well, I will tell you one thing. One of the things that I do to be able to keep balance is my relationship with God,
Mhm.
right? So I make sure that my relationship with God is very intact, is very intact, because He's my source, and from Him I draw my strength,
Yeah.
right? And every other things just follows after, right? After my relationship with God, I also engage in workouts. I spend time working out,
Mhm.
just to build mental clarity. And I also run.
Okay.
Those were my main time,
Yeah.
so I purposefully do that, book my time to do that, and dedicate time to make sure that I go to the gym and run on a
Mhm.
daily basis. All right.
Awesome. Okay.
Yes, because it's very essential.
Yeah, no,
You know?
I like running, but I
Yeah.
haven't committed to the daily. So once you said on a daily basis, I was like, oh wow, I can challenge myself to
Yes,
do
yeah,
better.
it's very, very important. At one point in my business, I started falling sick, and I think that was 5 years to 6 years ago. By December, I wouldn't just been able to keep up. I'm extremely tired,
Yeah.
weary, and I just had to assess my life as like, you know what, this cannot just be happen. It started from cutting off clients that are extremely very stressful,
Yeah.
and then and also focusing on my health as well as a woman, making sure that I'm taking my vitamins, making sure that I'm being mindful who I surround myself with, what I listen to,
Right.
those really, really helps. And I also dedicate on a monthly basis. I go out for massage and, just get massage and
Yeah.
also go out dine with myself. All
Oh,
right. And
really? Like solo dates?
solo dates,
Oh,
yes.
really? I don't do that
Solo
as
date
much.
myself,
Really?
yeah. And just to
Huh.
reflect and just to
Yeah.
reflect on how the month has been, what I have achieved so far, how was my family, just reflecting on myself, just my own main time,
That's
I-
awesome. That's awesome because I do agree. I mean, running I could do better. Definitely agree. I'm yeah, queen of massages and spas here, but it did take some. It took some time and some experiences, right? Where I'm like, okay, physically I cannot keep doing this. There's no way I can grow this business how I want to grow it. Show up as a mom the way that I want to without necessarily
wow,
prioritizing myself. That's
yes,
actually one of the things that made me want to have these kind of conversations because everything out there talks about how you can improve, how you can be better, how you can, it's the constant thing. Like you could do more. Wake up at 4 a.m. Don't sleep till 1 a.m. I'm like,
It's
but
not
where is,
realistic.
where is the self-care as part of this? Where are we actually putting ourselves? Because without our well-being, then the business is not really going to be around much longer. So thanks for sharing that. I think I'll try the solo date thing.
Very important,
I
yeah.
think I've done it like maybe a coffee, but not an intentional, hey, we're spending the evening going out to
Living
dinner or
together.
something. So
Yes.
yeah, you've inspired me to want to give something a try.
I'm glad. Yeah.
Uh, okay. So, well, these conversations, as I said, just casual chatting about your business, learning a bit about you. Moving forward, as you plan for the growth of your business and you thinking of, how else you can strategically plan for yourself and for your clients, what are some other tools, if you can think of, that you would encourage your business clients to think about? Maybe not necessarily in a way kind of taxes, because that's a stressful point for most entrepreneurs, but what are some tools you can give people to implement in their business that can enable them to have more clarity, business clarity, mental clarity, more strategy in their business, which ultimately leads to more peace of mind? Are there some things you can think about to share with anyone who may be listening to this?
I would say this. I think with most entrepreneur, is the fact that I would say one thing that is important is having an accountant on
Mm,
board. Yeah, and building a really great relationship with your accountant, because it helps. They could be able to see things that you couldn't see on the back end, and they will be able to tell you,
yeah.
right? Because every business is different, right? And also just learning your clientele based,
Yeah.
depending on the type of business that you are in. If it is if you're building a long-term relationship with them, do you actually know your clients? Because they are the basis of your business.
Hmm.
If you don't know your clients, if you don't understand your clients, then basically you really don't have a business, right?
Right.
Because you're serving people in general. People are the one that run your business. They're the one that show up on your business. So it's very essential to know them, right?
Right.
So that's one thing I would ask all, that I would advise and say, know the clients that you're serving and their needs,
Yeah.
how do you build from that, maybe developing a long-term relationship with them and also having a very good accountant on your team. It shouldn't be on the last minute. That's when you start looking for an accountant.
Mm.
Oh, can you do this for me? Can you run this for me? Tend to get that in law during tax season and
Yeah.
people randomly call, oh, I need a P&L. I'm doing this and it's like,
Like we
I don't
can't do
think I
that.
want to sign off about your stuff,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, so I have a very, I have a great relationship with an accountant,
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur on your corner. At least you will know someone actually get your back
Right.
besides you. So I think that's one thing every entrepreneur should invest in, no matter how small or, it is. You should have an accountant on your
Okay.
team,
Well,
and build a relationship. Yeah.
thank you so much for that. Because I mean, a lot of times people don't think about that part. It's easy for people to start up a business like, oh, I can register my LLC online. And then,
Correct.
from my end, I'm
Yes.
like, well, operating agreement, get this waiver, business resolution. Like, yeah, it's okay. And then they just keep going. And at the end of the year, they now want to talk to an accountant and say, well, I spent this money, I put this here. How do I make this happen? So it's definitely
Yes. Yes.
useful to think about getting the right people in place for your business, especially if you want to grow the
Yes.
business. Make
Correct.
sure that
Yeah.
you have the right people is absolutely essential. Well,
Very important. Yeah. From
thank
the initial stage. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for your time. It's an absolute pleasure
Thank
talking to
you.
you. I always appreciate speaking with you. Um,
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me as well.
you're welcome.
It's
You're
been a
welcome.
pleasure being on here.